that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody. I need a weapon. And welcome back. Well, not to the expanding universe of Halo. Just to Halo. Welcome to Halo 5. Guardians. Non-spoiler wise, I mean, this game is pretty old. This game came out when I was like early high school for me. I'm old. But this was a very controversial game when it came out. It is so controversial. This is whatever apologizers there may have been during the time of Halo 4. At least at the time that Halo 5 came out, it seemed like all of that love, all of the love they had left was crushed. And everybody saw 343 Industries as the boogeyman of Halo. So much so that when Halo Wars 2 would come out, and then later Halo Infinite, they would essentially ignore this entire plot thread. Infinite basically doing an entire arc of itself off screen so you could just straight up avoid it. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Safe to say it was not looked on fondly. But what is going on? Well, for half the game you don't play as Master Chief, which was a big thing. Of course, this was also the case with Halo 2 and the Arbiter, where half the game you played as him. However, there was more emotion, there was more connection, there was more tissue between the juxtaposition, the poetry of it all, and the writing, and the delivery of it between playing as Master Chief and the Arbiter. Two sides of kind of the same coin. As opposed to, in this game, they don't really make an extreme effort to really make the characters be individuals. They have their little quirks, but by and large, just Spartans. Going after Spartans. Master Chief, alongside Blue Team, from the novels, go AWOL to go find Cortana. Because she's not dead. What? And Locke is sent, he's the leader of Osiris Team, along with Buck from Halo ODST, who's now Spartan 4. If you want to know how that happened, go read New Blood by Matt Forbeck, along with a couple other characters that were mentioned in the expanded universe, but they weren't really fleshed out. But spoiler alert, they're not fleshed out here either. But they go to find the Master Chief. Meanwhile, it becomes a bigger story about this created, how, you know, the AIs of the Forerunners and these big giant mechanical machines called what are they called? The Guardians, I guess. And Cortana seems to be at the center of all of this. What does it all mean? I don't know. You have to play the game or watch a YouTube video to find out. But it was overall a mixed bag for me, having, you know, not had all the emotional hatred toward it, because I just haven't touched it for years. I went in trying to give it a fresh perspective, you know, free of bias, free of hate. So I came out liking it a lot more than I initially remember liking it. Of course, I've read the entire expanded universe, and that was another misnotion by this story, was that everyone said, well, we shouldn't have to read books to understand a video game. And I don't exactly know what people are talking about, because none of the books I read really helped me with this. Halo Landfall, whatever the fudge it was called. Nightfall, sorry. Landfall is the trailer. So it introduces Locke. It doesn't even show him becoming a Spartan, so I don't think that really counts. The other thing we don't know is, like, sure, there's a bunch of Spartans now. They're called Spartan 4s. But you knew that since Halo 4, because they have Sarah Palmer But yeah, Buck's now Spartan. He was the last time we saw him was in Halo ODST. If you want to know how he became a Spartan, you have to read a book. But other than that, like, you understand that that's Buck. People made a big deal about Jewel Mondama, but then I actually read everything and I realized, oh no, actually, most of what you need to know about Jewel Mondama comes from Spartan Ops, which was like a multiplayer thing in Halo 4. So that was a video game thing. You didn't need to read anything. Other than that, like, there's really nothing here. Oh, because Halsey's like arm is chopped off. That's not from a book. It's from Spartan Ops. So again, everything you needed to know was in the visual medium. If you just wanted some additional context to some things here and there, yeah, you could read the books, but they were not necessary in the slightest, like at all. And if you don't know who Blue Team is, that's on you, because Fall of Reach came out before the first video game. So that's on you if you don't know who they are, okay? I'm not going to get into that. You know, they trained with him when he was a kid. That's all you need to know about Blue Team. If you want some additional information for why they didn't die during Reach, First Strike. If you wanted to know where they were during the original games, Ghost of Onyx. Boom, bada bing, done. If you want to know how they got out of their predicament in Ghost of Onyx, read Halo Glasslands. But all that stuff doesn't really matter for Halo 5. All you need to know is that they train together as kids. If you have questions, there's an expanded universe for you. That's what an expanded universe is meant to be. To put in question, to answer questions that aren't essential to the plot of the story. So, there's that. But the story of itself was actually fairly good. Because my biggest struggle was like, Halo 4 introduced the Didact, but then they got rid of the Didact. This is a post-Flood world. Now, of course, the Flood still exists, and they could still most definitely be a threat in the future again. Easily. First off, there is speculation in multiple different stories and sources about if the Flood consumes enough and the Gravemind gets smart enough, they become spacefaring and they'd be able to travel possibly to other galaxies. Not the Milky Way system. So if they wanted to bring the Flood back, they could very easily by having them come from another galaxy. Or Chief and friends shoot themselves in the foot by accident, by accidentally being taken to another galaxy. A galaxy with no friends and no help, filled to the brim with only Flood. But most likely they would come to ours because you need guns and stuff. But right, like, we already did the Flood. If you want to try to be new, if you want to try to be different, you can't just do the Flood again. At least not immediately. Like, you know, you have to build back up to that. Like, because we already did that. So, what do? Later on, we'll have the Banished. And the Banished, you know, they're a cool faction, but they're by no means a threat to the entire galaxy. So, what? And then, you know, then they introduce the Endless, which we'll get to later. Are they really a threat? We don't really know enough. So it's like all these things. But Halo 5 gave us this idea. We've known about AIs and rampancy since the beginning of this franchise. So what if? What if that's the future of Halo? What if we make the AIs who've been a part of this world since the very beginning turn? Mendicant Bias did it. Make them be the threat. Make them be the galaxy-wide conflict that could destroy everything. Real stakes. And I love that. I even like the Warden Eternal. Just not the amount of times you need to fight that dude. But Cortana. That's the tricky part. The thing about this game is it tries to turn Cortana into a villain. The biggest issue with that, well, you already had people when Halo 4 came out hating on it, saying it played too much like Call of Duty, which, to be fair, did, is saying that Halo 4's main plot doesn't make sense, and I gotta be honest, You don't need to read anything to understand Halo 4's plot at all. It makes you appreciate it more if you read the 3 books by Greg Bear, but you don't need them. I think people that are complaining about 343 and their stories just don't pay attention, because it's all there for what you need to know. But regardless, there were people hating on that for that. But for those who still clung on to hope and still loved Halo, despite it not being as good as the Bungie era, they clung to the Master Chief and Cortana story because that was the bread and butter. And they did it so emotionally well. Killing off Cortana, someone we've been with for 3 full games, only to take her away from us in the 4th. It was emotionally impactful, powerful, only to bring her back in the next game. There's a couple options I see. Option 1, Halo 5 could have had the same plot, minus Cortana. Scratch that out entirely, and make the Warden Eternal, this ancient AI thing, be the new antagonist, main one anyway. Flesh him out. It doesn't hold the emotional weight of having Cortana be the bad guy. But I'm down for the whole created plot line. It's just Cortana that I take issue with. Option 2. You don't kill Cortana off in Halo 4. You just continue to show her rampancy, but they make it out, they survive another mission together. But Cortana continues to glitch, turns red. But Master Chief won't show his superiors, because he knows what will happen. Lead Halo 5. Now she's a bad guy. That works better. But you can't do that option, because Halo 4 already happened, so she died. Then we get to the third option, to make this more palatable, which would have been, because they allude to it, and they would later do something of a different caliber in Infinite. But Cortana says, you know, when I'm gone, they're going to pair you up with another version of me. But you know that won't be me, right? So you have a copy of Cortana. And she gets corrupted. And she becomes the villain moving forward. That way. It's not Cortana, it's not the one we knew. It's a version of her. That way the emotional moments can still hit Chief. And fans don't have to feel so upset. But none of that matters now. Because it wasn't a copy of Cortana. It is meant to actually just be her. And that's the issue. You give her one of the most satisfying deaths in video game history, only to just throw it out, make her still be alive in the next game. That's the biggest issue there. That being said, as I said, the created conflict, the idea that the AIs would rise up, go against humanity, and Zangheili, and brutes, and every form of life, that works. That's cause. After the flood, that's your next best bet for a big giant force that must be stopped. That's perfect. Unfortunately, the hate for Halo 5 was so great, we will not see that moving forward. At least not in a game. For the best, debatable. That's my non-spoilers thoughts. There's some little bit more additional things to say, but I mean, I kind of did spoil it, but the game's old. But I mean, that's about it though. If you don't want anything additionally spoilery, time for you to go. There's a really cool, quick little flashback to Halsey and Cortana, which is very cool, of her being created. We get introduced to Team Osiris, and, you know, the gameplay might actually be like it, but the cutscene is really cool of getting to see these Spartan 4s take down, you know, all these guys. And one thing that did annoy me is that they build up Jul 'Mdama through video game stuff, through comics, through novels, and he gets shot dead in one scene. Why did we waste all this time with him then? One thing I did like You know, we get to see Buck, Nathan Fillion, you know, from Firefly, my Nathan Drake, being a Spartan, but his helmet, his Spartan 4 helmet, is still shaped like an ODST. I love that little detail. It's nice to have blue team in a game, is what I wrote, but normies are going to be so confused. That's fair, but again, the book's old. The good of Meridian. Now, we talked about Meridian before. In those terrible YA novels, where these teenagers are going to become the first Spartan 4s during the war against the Covenant. Anyway, I'm just saying that I know the planet already, but other than that. And this is the first time we hear mentions of the Reclamation. Or I think we heard it once before in that final speech by the Didact when he says the Reclamation has begun. But this is the first time we're hearing like big things about it. I love how Blue Team just immediately trusts Chief over Oni. They've been through so much. No. Alright, if you say we're going, we're going. It's interesting to note, too, this whole thing's about the AIs rising up. Roland remains a good character that stays on the side of the heroes in this story, but the Roland AI still gets mad in this particular scene, which is really cool to see. We also know that the Meridian governor is an AI named Sloan, who it's just fascinating that there's an entire little colony being run by an AI and that people are just okay with that. We get Locke versus Chief. It doesn't look the best, but I mean, it's fine. I also like, earlier on, I forgot to mention, the gray area of everything. Buck complains he misses when everything was all black and white, shoot Covenant, do this, do that. None of this gray area stuff. It was just a fun conversation. But the whole thing with this, Cortana's plan, is that the Didact very much, you know, his wife believes that humans are going to become the guardians, the mantle that would uphold the mantle responsibility. The Didact didn't like that. He wanted the Forerunners to remain in control of that. But now he's out of the picture. So Cortana has this idea that we are the created. You know, we were created by you. Some of us were created by the Forerunners, but most of us were created by humans. Now we, the created, will save our creators. So now AIs shall uphold the mantle responsibility. Because they say that Cortana gained access to the domain, whatever that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know how she did that, but she did apparently. And then, like, one of the best parts about this story, we get to go to St. Helios, like, in visual, like, in a video game. It was great. The locations are great, the locales are great, and we get to see the Arbiter. We've heard a lot about his Civil War. We even have had a couple talking scenes with him in the novels and seen him a few times in the comics, but here he is in the flesh in a video game. We need more Arbiter, damn it. We get to see another monitor called Exuberant Witness, a monitor of the Genesis installation, which is also cool. Cortana claims that she can cure rampancy. I don't know if that's true, but she claims she can. But yeah, what I love about this, though, aspect of the story, at least, is even though Cortana is going nuts, her whole plan in this story in particular, mainly, I mean, at least for why she's pulling Chief around, is she wants to put Chief and Blue Team and encrypt them and keep them suspended for however many thousands of years it takes for the world to be perfect. So that way her best friend, possibly love interest, depending on how you want to interpret her, can see paradise that she's made for him. Because he's fought for so many years as a soldier. She just wants her favorite man to be happy. But that requires perfection. But she knows he won't approve of her methods. So she just wants to put him to sleep for a good long while. I just love that she's not a stereotypical, like, evil, like, I want you dead, Chief, now that I've turned. It still is this This warped sense of, no, I'm protecting you. This is what you need. That's what I've always done for you. Trust me to do this for you. And that aspect of the story, I think, works really well. But the execution of everything getting there is so sloppy. But yeah. Osiris team saves Master Chief and Blue Team. Cortana runs away. She has her guardians. The world is doomed. Will the next game show us saving the world from these guardians? No, because the threat ended off screen. You know, as much as they wanted to course correct, at the same time, handle it in probably, in my opinion, the worst way possible. But there we were. That's it for this story. Up next, we'll have 2 books back to back by Matt Forbeck with Legacy of Onyx and Bad Blood. Till then, let's finish the fight.